This
How do
this this your introductions. They'll get heavier by the day.
I hear you.
I'm alright. How are you? I hope you're having a good weekend.
Yes, I am. I'm having a good weekend. I can't complain. A bit of situation in my voice, but we move.
I heard it's been raining in different places. Have you been seeing rain?
Not seeing rain, no. Not sure why. I'm not sure
Okay.
why, but I mean, it's going to get to everybody. It's like
Yeah.
breakfast. All right, let's have you. Let's get the conversation started.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Blessing.
Will you be sharing your screen or turning
Yeah,
your video?
I will be
Okay.
sharing my screen.
All right, great. Can you turn your video on as well?
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Over to you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. As Blessing has said, my name is Praise Kehinde Ige. The Kehinde Ige is in that sequence, right? But I'll let Blessing have that one. Okay. Good evening again, everyone. So today I'm going to be speaking on communication as a product manager, storytelling, and how it relates to stakeholder communication, how telling stories affects people, and how you can use it to influence decision making based on the data you collect, and how to communicate or how to understand communicating effectively among and across teams. So that's going to be our topic for today. And what are some of the outcomes? So many people have what they call stakeholders. For me personally, I have a personal way of looking at what a stakeholder is. So today I'm going to learn what Praise's definition of a stakeholder is. You'll find what the uh, you find the effects of storytelling and how, just like love affects your brain, how how a good story can create a hormone cocktail in your brain, in your biology, things that you don't even particularly have control over. And we're going to find out some use cases for effective communication as a product manager. We're going to talk about effective communication, what makes up effective communication, and we're going to talk about understanding radical candor according to Kim Scott. I'm just going to do a very, very small summary on radical candor, just very small. It's about how to communicate with your teammates and everyone in the office as a manager, as a leader. So, story time. Let's start with a short story, right? So in 2009, a journalist named Rob Walker wanted to know how powerful a tool storytelling was. Like, what exactly can storytelling do to create value in something that is seemingly valueless or, yeah, seemingly valueless? So, how did he decide to do this? He went on eBay. Everybody knows eBay now. I believe everybody knows eBay. He went on eBay and he bought 200 goods, 200 items. And the average price of those 200 items was about $1. Some of them were like 60 cents, 90 cents, some 1 cent, sorry, $1.10, but the average price was about a dollar. And after I purchased these 200 items, he sent a message to about 200 writers or over 200 writers and asked them if they wanted to write a story on or about or to a particular item, to create a story around the item so that you could resell it back on eBay. So a lot of them responded to this story. A lot of them responded to this request, and they wrote stories, interesting stories, on the items that he bought. So what he did, if anybody knows how eBay works, auction, you auction some things. You can auction some things on eBay. So people paid the highest price, you give it to the highest bidder, something like that sometimes. So we asked them to write a story. So here are 200 objects and 200 stories. And I'm sure that it was with anticipation that the man went to eBay to go and post them back with their story and see what difference it will make. So one of the items that he wanted to sell was a plastic horse's head, like the toy of a plastic horse's head that you hang on the wall. He bought it at about 99 cents, less than $1. And at the time when he finished adding the story and he put it back up, he sold it for about $69. $69, right? That is about 60, about 60, 600%. About okay, yeah, about 600% profit on that particular good. And then he starts to ask himself, or what to ask ourselves now is that, is this one thing an isolated incident? Is it an isolated incident? Is it just it's something that happened to one of the products? Well, it is the fun fact now that the man sold the entire items, all of them, for a total of over $8,000. And what was the difference between all of them? The presentation, the story, and the things that surrounded the story, right? The things that surrounded the item and how the item was presented. Why did these people decide to pay more for items that were just there and nobody really wanted to see before, right? So last year, PQ Media brought out a statistic that over $10.5 billion in revenue is made every year from product placements, just from product placements. That's advertisements, advertisements, just different places where you see products and they tell a story that they do advertisements to cover it. You know the adverts now, close up when you're watching the match. Which one is really popular? All the advertisements on radio and on TV, the MTN, everything, right? Another thing that is also very challenging to wrap your head around is that you will go to a cinema and watch a movie about a guy named James Bond, and you will enter and you watch the movie and you look at it like, oh my God, James Bond is so cool. Look at him, all dressed, well dressed. He can fight, can do all this. Look at his nice car. His nice BMW, I believe. His nice BMW and his watch. And then you come out and you come out feeling like, oh my God, I want to be like James Bond. How do I feel like James Bond? You don't want to go through training, no. But the first thing that makes you want to do is to buy a BMW car. So you're going to look cool like that, right? And if you're somebody that can actually find the money to buy that thing, you come out, you buy the BMW, and for some reason you feel a little bit cooler about yourself, right? This is the power of storytelling. It is the ability to get somebody emotionally invested in your story or in your product. And to do this, you first have to understand what a good story does to our brain. I'm going to continue this to another story because if we are talking about storytelling, it's only fair that we hear our own fair share of stories, right? So I'm pretty sure that everyone at some point, maybe some of us have not, but most people here must have been in that stage where you fall in love with someone for the first time, and everything the person does is fantastic. The way the person chooses their food, it is so cute. The way they walk is so cute. The way they snore is cute, Seth. I mean, some people say the way their people snore is cute. Just every small bit is so cute. Why is it like this? It is because your body floods your brain with some hormones that a popular speaker, David Phillips, likes to call the angel's cocktail, which is a mix of three chemicals. So after about 13 months, apparently there are studies that show that 13 months is around the time that you fall in love, that you fall out of, the infatuation love. So after 13 months, now that your eyes have cleared, you start seeing things that you saw as cute as just generally annoying. Like For some reason, the person decides that it's when you're making a call, they want to eat an apple or something like that, right? We're not going to focus on the after effects. We're going to focus on the chemicals that your brain puts on that your body floods your brain with to make you to stop doing what you think is rational and to make you make decisions that fits the narrative that you want. So today we're going to do a little bit, very little bit of chemistry, maybe biology. So the three components of this angel's cocktail is dopamine, endorphins, and oxytocin. Right? Dopamine, endorphins, and oxytocin. The first one is dopamine, right? Dopamine is the little thing that you get when you want to press your phone, when you get a notification and you anticipate something. It is what drives you to do things. It is what drives you to learn things. It is the satisfaction you get from learning something. It is the thing that makes you feel satisfied. What makes you want to do something. So why the brain gives you that a lot of dopamine, why your body puts dopamine into your brain, is so that it can facilitate learning and memory. So if you want to do something, you do it, and then if it's a habit you're trying to cultivate, you keep doing it, and it helps you learn, right? Memory, it helps you memorize things. It helps you keep things in your mind. Motivation, reward, mood, and emotion. Mood and emotion, right? So these things are some of the things that affect the decisions you make and how you react to specific situations. The second one is endorphins, which is the happiness hormone, right? Endorphins are the things you get when you get a gift, when you accomplish a task, stuff like that. When you do something, when you work with a team and then you produce a product. Let's use a product since we're all product managers. You create a product and you feel like this thing is exactly what you want to do. It is the happiness hormone. It is what you get when you hang out with your friends. It is the happiness hormone. It comes with laughter. It comes with joy, right? And then there's oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone, which this also comes when you hang out with your friends. Just general bonding things like that. So from this, there's something that you can take away from this. Why did I show you all this? It is for you to understand that the human brain in the first place is built and we were born to listen to stories and watch stories. That is why the movie industry, the video game industry, is one of, and even the sports industry, entertainment in general is one of the most lucrative things on earth right now, because everybody wants to be part of a story. The stories help the characters feel like they're a part of the storyteller or they're a part of the story. They help them reflect themselves in the story, right? They allow us to express the similarities between our experiences and the experiences of other people. Either it's fake or either it's real. Or you know that this thing isn't real, but for some reason you still want to go and watch the 17th part of 50 Shades of Grey, right? So yes, storytelling is a very important part of the human biology. Just as a fun fact, on the other side of the angel's cocktail is the devil's cocktail, which is a mixture of cortisol and adrenaline. We're not getting into that today, right? We're not getting into that today. Today we are talking about storytelling. Why would you need to tell stories as a product manager? Or when would you need to tell stories as a product manager? The first one that I know is common to almost every single product manager, apart from those that have the legs that we can't see, it's interviews, not just client interviews. We're talking about job interviews. You're going to have to be able to portray a story that is different from what the other people are bringing. And I know something that is a common trend now is that people just go and create their story with ChatGPT, no extra prompts. Just tell ChatGPT to create something. And if everybody uses the same ChatGPT, all the stories are going to come out looking the same. right? And that is just something like a cover letter or something. When you're in an interview, you have to be able to express yourself. You have to be able to connect to the interviewer and have the interviewer see something in you that is not seen in every other person. So your ability to tell a story in the first place puts you on the same level as those people that make movies in Hollywood and Nollywood. Even Nollywood stories now are getting really, really, really engaging. Product pitch. I know many people will have heard of the concept of the elevator pitch, where they ask you that if you meet, for instance, you meet Mark Zuckerberg or a VC that you've always had in mind, or that you've always had in mind to meet, if you meet them in an elevator ride, maybe you are in the same building and they are going to a different floor, and you meet him in the elevator, and he asks you to pitch your idea to him, how would you say it? Being able to tell a good story and being able to communicate properly is very useful in these kind of situations, right? And then there's team trainings. When you are trying to relate complicated things to people, it's always important to be able to make them relate and see themselves in those things, and sometimes see themselves doing those things. User onboarding within the app. I feel like you have to be able to direct the user through a particular set of journeys and help them. There's something I think it was the Pendo products product driven approach, where they talked about having an aha moment. You have to be able to guide someone to guide your user to get to a situation where they say, aha, like, okay, this is how this works. And once you get that, you already have them hooked. You have to be able to guide them using how you already using a set of pre-planned prompts, or as we can do now, some data-driven AI solutions. Visualizing data. Obviously, you're going to have to talk to the board of directors or even just the one person, your boss, the CEO. And sometimes they're not very abreast with exactly what it is that you're doing. So you have to be able to visualize data when you want to show them the data and you want to draw graphs, the pie charts, the bar charts, all that. You have to be able to tell a good story then. Obviously, one of these product sessions, sometimes you have to be able to connect to the audience. Marketing strategies, creating marketing strategies, that's advertisements, which advertisements to use and all that, and how to what goal you set for the advert and how the advertisement is going to go, or the marketing strategy in general, user stories and user journeys. Let me speed through this a little bit more. All right, Albert Einstein uh said that there's this quote. This quote is actually one of my favorite quotes as a person and as an educator and a communicator. He said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it enough. Go back again and check it. That go back again. I'm the one that added it to, not the one, but the first half is his. He said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it enough, right? And as product managers, understanding the product and the user is at the core of our role. And in this role, communication is key, right? So now let's assume that you have this great story in your mind. You have this great story. You have it well thought out. You consider everything. You consider all the dopamine. The dopamine. You make it engaging. You make it suspenseful. That's to induce the dopamine. You make it funny. That's to induce the endorphins. You just do everything. You make it engaging. You make it emotional. Great story. Great story. And then you get to where you want to deliver the story, and then you realize that not one single person there speaks English. Everybody is speaking French, or let's even take it deeper, Japanese, because Japanese is not based on the Latin model, right? Japanese, we don't use the same system. At least if you are hearing a little French, you can still say "tout parle français," you can still say a little, little, little. But like with Japanese, most of us don't know anything. Most of us don't know anything. So how exactly do you tell this story? How will this story reach them? Right? So this kind of is what it looks like when there is no effective communication. When two people are communicating on two completely different wavelengths, It feels like they're speaking different languages. Yes, we are both speaking English, and it feels like, or you almost think that, okay, he's hearing me now. But I'm sure many, or I think many of us must have been in a situation where you said something to someone and then they did something completely different. And in your mind, you're like, I was clear enough. How do you not understand what I'm saying? Right? I was clear. So this is where communication comes in, right? Communication is one of the cornerstones of success in product leadership. Good communication brings your team together. It helps you foster better cross-functional interactions, adaptation, and interpretation. Because sometimes you're going to have to say the same thing to different people in different ways. Where you communicate something to the to one of the holders of shares in the company, to the CEO, where you talk about this ROI and all that, is different from how you talk about that same feature to the engineer that wants to build it. Different from how you talk about it to the sales team. Different from how you talk about it to the user. You can't be telling the user that want to make this profit from you. They will not enjoy it. So it helps you. Good communication helps you adapt and just be able to move around, move around your team, just different stakeholders, right? Uh, Obviously, product management interviews, good communication, everything in communication basically translates to every single thing we talked about as a good use for storytelling. I feel like this last one is one of my most important ones, which is identifying, projecting, and interpreting your vision to stakeholders, which kind of fosters into the cross-functional interaction. But it is very important to be able to draw a vision for your product and understand the vision and communicate it in the way that it needs to be communicated to which people. Right, because the vision is usually very, very important as a product manager, and it's important to do everything you do in line with the vision in order to create value to the product. So who is the stakeholder, or who are these stakeholders, right? I like to consider, let's imagine that the whole product is a cow, right? The product is a cow, a big cow that you want to share. Who are those people that are going to hold a stake in this cow, this product cow? Who are those people that are going to hold a stake in this product cow? The executives, that's the CEO, the CFO, every single person that is doing something, that has something to gain or lose from that product, is a stakeholder. It goes down to the vendors, to the users, to the CEO, CFO, the product team, the engineers, the designers, the marketing manager, the sales team, the marketing team, customer support, the operations, the finance team, users, everybody that has something to do with, that has something to gain or lose from the product, is a stakeholder. So today we are talking about how you communicate, or how to effectively communicate with these stakeholders, right? Look at that, the product. So what is this communication? Like, what is communication? Why are you disturbing me with communication? What is this communication you are speaking of, right? So according to Webster Dictionary, communication is the act of conveying information through shared symbols, signals, and behaviors. So symbols could be language, handwriting, documents, signals, images, anything, and behaviors. Please emphasis here on behaviors and symbols, right? And one of my favorite definitions, it is the deliberate and inadvertent message transmission from sender to receiver, evoking a response. This definition was from the Sage Handbook of Communication, if anyone has seen that, right? So what exactly are the components of good communication? What are the parts that must be present in communication for it to even be good in the first place? What are the things that should be present inside communication? Like, why are you what is this? What is good communication? So the first thing is that there has to be a sender, the person that is conveying, which in this situation will probably be you, but only probably. There is a sender. Uh, Obviously, the message you are trying to send, what you are trying to pass across, the story you are trying to pass across, the information you are trying to pass across. There's the channel that you decide to pass across the message, which is either meetings and documentation, emails, collaboration tools like Jira, anything. And then there's the receiver. That's the person that receives the information, right? So yeah, back to it. Back to communication. What are the tools for effective communication? What are some of the components of effective communication? You have clarity, which is in anything you want to say, you have to speak it clearly as a product manager, because a lot of information is going to go through you. No information is going to go from you to other people, to different people that speak, as I said before, the different languages of the product, because the product is just one big cow and everybody has their own steak, and the steak, for some reason, different cooks cook to the steak and it tastes differently to everybody. You are the one person that knows the taste of everything and can tell everybody what it is, right? It has to be concise. Verbosity is not something that's very effective for efficient or effective communication, because once you start saying too many words, a lot of people zone out. And in the community we live in right now, everybody is very, very, very dopamine induced, where we have very low attention spans. Everybody expects something right now, right now. And I'm not saying that you have to give them something right now and rush it, but at the same time, you have to be concise with the information. You have to be clear and concise, precise, right? And then obviously feedback. It's back and forth between you and the other person, you and the other person. The information keeps bouncing back. You say something, you receive something, you contemplate it, you say it back, you receive it. It's a two-way street. It's not between one person. So there has to be feedback for there to be efficient communication or effective communication. Right. So there are two kinds of communication, right? There's the verbal and non-verbal. But before we continue this, I'm going to show us a few pictures and see if someone from the class can tell us, or someone from the session can tell us what this person is trying to say. Uh, can I get a hand up for anyone who wants to tell us what this person is trying to tell you, or something that you can deduce from what this person is trying to say? Don't worry about this. Let's talk about this fellow here. Does anyone have it? Okay, let's make it binary, right? Do you think this is about to give you good news or bad news? Or is about to communicate good news or bad news? Anybody? Please, Isa.
But good evening. I
Good
think
evening.
from his action and the posture, it actually depicts the bad news.
Yes, yes. And you see that you didn't have to say anything. You don't even have to see the context, right? He has
Yes,
communicated by just being there,
yes.
right? How about this? What is the mood in this room? Anybody else?
Happiness.
No, let somebody else speak. Thank you, Isa. Anybody else?
Don't you guys
I'll
want
pick.
to speak?
They're shy because you're recording.
Hmm. Recording that we're not going to share.
Okay.
All right, guys. Anybody?
Okay. So obviously, Isa, please go ahead. You're a star boy.
The,
Maybe person give you a prize after.
the mood and the postures of those people actually signify joy, happiness, as in
Right?
success, a successful success
Meeting.
has occurred in a meeting.
Meeting.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes,
So as you can see, communication is not just about what you say or what you write or sometimes what you even shout. Sometimes it's about what you convey with your body language. Sometimes it could even be the color you put somewhere. Because sometimes maybe you're watching a movie and then you see that for some reason the whole set of the movie has become red. All of a sudden, your body will start having goosebumps, and you feel like, okay, maybe something is about to happen here, right? It could be voice tonality. Somebody's voice could just change. Even though you're telling, I know if there's any Yoruba people among us, you can tell from that. I don't know if it's a thing from other tribes as well, but I know Yoruba people, voice tonality is very important in our communication. Because some will be like, okay, I know this is not like, okay, 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 right? Those are three different okays, and they mean totally different things, even though they all just said the same thing. So voice tonality, body language, as we just saw before, that body language, even without saying a word, how the countenance of the person or the people, different parts of the body can tell you different things. The tone of an email could tell you what the person is trying to say. A video, you can literally look on a video clip and understand the kind of nuance that the person is trying to explain. And I know that's something that has become very popular now as well. Without saying a word, people try to explain to you with what the image looks like, or even just the composition of the image for you to understand what is happening, or the feeling that the person is experiencing, or even the type of acting, or if the person puts on a face, but just different things, non-verbal communication, right? So as a product manager, even though it's important to master the art of communicating concisely and speaking very well and all that, it is equally, if not even more important, to understand non-verbal communications and the different ways they may come. Sometimes my friends think I overanalyze movies because I can tell some of the nuances that they're acting. So sometimes they have to exaggerate what it is you're trying to convey. So sometimes you can actually see what they're trying to tell you or what they're trying to say without they even saying it or spelling it out. Right. So it's always important as a product manager to understand how to read all these things. So understanding non-verbal communication can be what differentiates a good from a great communicator, which in turn affects how you tell stories and how you affect your team members, how you affect their emotions and the chemical composition in them. Right. Uh, you have to be able to share nuances as well as read them, and as well as just like if when you are sharing the information you want to share, you must also be able to share nuances along with it. I'm not saying you should be an actor, right? But you have to understand the nuances you are bringing out and also what the one they are bringing out, right? And when you are trying to communicate effectively, you have to be able to read the other person. You have to be able to speak the listener's language. Like, who is my listener? You can't be, for instance, if I were to give a message on communication to children, it will not be like this. In the first place, it's not going to be black. It's going to be colorful, right? You have to be able to speak the listener's language. Some of these things are going to come across just verbal as well as non-verbal, right? It could be public, it could be many people, it could be single people. The first thing is to recognize what your audience or what the other person is trying to say. If you're talking to one person and they're telling you, maybe they're like, please, don't be, if you see anything in the fridge that is labeled to someone's name, please don't pick it. Oh, don't pick it. Oh, they might be trying to tell you, bros, why did you eat my food yesterday? Right? You have to be able to recognize what the person is trying to say. You have to look at what they are saying. And how do you do that? By taking your time, slow down, slow it down. Don't be afraid to take a second.
Precious, we can
Yes.
hear
Can
you.
everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Please, I had to change my internet because the light went.
Okay, no worries.
Anyway, yeah. So where did everyone lose me? I believe it should be at don't be afraid to slow down. Is that it? Okay, yes. So slow down. Don't be afraid to take a second to think. When you receive information, you don't have to speak instantly. You don't have to respond instantly. And this goes to interviews as well. I know it's people get very nervous, especially at interviews, and you just want to answer the question. You don't want to waste the interviewer's time. But it's more important to be accurate than to just be saying things. Remember that one of the important parts of communication is conciseness and clarity. It wouldn't do you any favors if you are just jumping around and saying different things. We're asking you what was the last book you read, and you're talking about how your teacher taught you how to read in kindergarten, right? It wouldn't do you any favors. It's not going to sway. In fact, it might even make the interviewer get bored, and you don't want a bored listener, right? You have to be flexible in your delivery. As I said before, you have to be able to read your audience. You have to empathize, understand what the other person is saying, especially if they are the ones trying to pass the information and they may not be as great the communicator as they should be. You have to try and understand where the person is coming from, which also comes back to recognizing what they are trying to say and understanding what they are trying to tell you so that you can better relate it back to them or back to other people or be able to solve a problem. Because as product managers, we are problem solvers, either we like it or not. If you are not a problem solver, go and learn. And where to start learning is math. But yes, problem solving is kind of what we do because adding value to products is not very simple, right? Or it may be simple, but it's not easy, right? And practice active listening. What is active listening? Active listening is simply listening as an activity. Listening as an activity. So not just listening because you want to respond or listening because you want to write it down. Listening because you want to understand what the other person is saying, which also comes back to empathy, and which will also help you slow it down. Because if you're actually listening because you want to understand what the person is saying, you are going to do things that are going to push you in a situation where you can understand better. For instance, if you are texting somebody and somebody else is trying to speak to you, sometimes you would probably drop your phone, maybe sit up and lean into the person to better hear and understand what they are saying. Active listening, you look at their body language, look at what they are saying. So you listen to what they are saying, and then you take your time to try and understand it. Right? So obviously, these are not all the things that you have to do, but these are just some of the things that I think are very important. The list goes on. You could go online anywhere. You could research, right? So yeah, as a PM, you communicate to executives, engineers, marketing, customers, and in fact, it's even a lot more. It's a lot more users. You communicate to different kinds of people, and they all speak different languages, right? Remember that clarity and conciseness is important. Remember what the storytelling does to them. Remember how telling a story changes their emotions and how they feel, or using a story to convey your information can be a little bit more interesting, right? I know many people may not even remember many of the things we talked about here, but I'm sure a lot of people remember that somebody bought some 200 things and sold it for more or something like that, right? So stories are very important. Active listening and nonverbal communication. Listen actively, try and understand the reader, empathize with the reader. You have to be able to persuade as a product manager. So all these things come together to help you persuade people based on the decisions that you've made. Because sometimes you are correct. You've done all the data, you've done all the interviews, you've done all the user research, you've done everything. And now it's time to convince the CEO that that product that is his favorite product on the application, everybody hates it. No user wants to use it. In fact, users are saying that it's the worst product, it's the worst feature, and they don't want it. And there's a simple feature that you already have, but the CEO wants to prioritize that feature. You have to be able to persuade him. And being able to persuade him may require you to do all these things. Maybe even fully understanding where he's coming from and being able to adapt his own idea into the idea that you're trying to make so you can satisfy the user. right? So yeah, that is yes, I said I was going to touch on radical candor, right? So let me see if I can drag this here. Let me see if I can drag this here. So radical candor is a access to upload images. All right. So radical candor, I can't post the image here, but radical candor is a process created or that was made popular by a manager. I would like to call her a product manager, but she says she's a manager, a people manager, not a product manager. Uh, so radical candor is made up of two things. Let's just try not to think about radical candor for a moment. Let's think about two things, two important things that's important when you are communicating with your stakeholders in your company. The first one is caring personally. First one is caring personally. This is as she called it, the give a damn axis, right? Your ability to care for your team members, to praise them when they do good, to congratulate them when they do good things, to be able to, just help them do things when they have problems doing things. Just the friendly axis. And then there's the second one, which is the challenge directly, which is the challenge directly axis. Yeah. Challenging directly simply means being able to tell somebody when they are wrong, using all these things that we've talked about in the beginning, the communication, the empathy, the good story, everything, being able to understand where they are coming from. Because sometimes some people do things and they don't mean it, right? So sometimes they do things and they don't even understand what they are doing. Sometimes some people call something a resting bitch face, in quotes, resting bitch face, where they tell you that they're actually not angry or they are not in a bad mood, but for some reason they look like they're in a bad mood. They look like they're in a bad mood and they don't even know. So you ask them like, why are you frowning? Like, sorry, I don't mean to frown. I'm actually a very nice person, something like that, right? So radical candor is the ability to care personally and challenge directly at the same time, right? I know someone said something. So she said something about. She said praise openly and admonish privately, right? If you have something good to say, you can say it openly. You can say it where some other people can hear. And then if you have something that you need to correct, you can tell them privately. But always make sure you tell them, right? That is radical candor, being able to care personally and also challenge directly. Don't go around and be talking behind them, right? So when you remember to challenge directly in full, and then you forget to care personally, right? You forget to care personally, and you just go on challenging and challenging and challenging. You're just going to come off as aggressive, and that will not foster a good relationship with your stakeholders, right? You'll not foster good relationship with your stakeholders. Sometimes when you care personally, or the challenge directly, if you challenge directly and you don't care personally, you're going to do things like backbite. You come off as just somebody that hates them. You just come off like you hate them, even if you do mean well, right? Then if you care personally without being able to challenge directly, without trying to challenge directly, you come up with something called manipulative insincerity, right? That's manipulative insincerity. Right? Manipulative insincerity. This is something that happens where all you can tell is nice things. Even when you see the person, even when even when you see even when you see the person doing something that is even when you see the person doing something that isn't right, you just feel like okay, you can only do good things, can only say good things. can only say good things. And this thing where they tell you that don't if you don't have something good to say, don't say anything at all. As a product manager, you kind of have to say something that is not good to them, because the product is important. Yes, the people are as important, but also you kind of have to move the team forward, because what matters is the team, right? And when you can care personally and challenge directly at the same time, you foster a good relationship among the team, right? And some of the tools you can use to do this, to communicate these things effectively and efficiently, is through body language, through nuances, uh, through storytelling and things like that. So yeah, we've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you guys for being here. Blessing, over to you.
Thank you so much for this amazing session. It gave me, I like the fact that you took it from so many aspects, from the behavioral aspects to the storytelling aspects to communication. It just aligns so perfectly. And yes, thank you so much for this amazing session. So, guys, do you have questions for Praise Ige Pende or Praise Pende Ige? Pardon me. Right.
Blessing is looking for my
Do we
trouble.
have Praise Kende Ige? Right. Okay. Do we have questions? Do we have questions? Questions. Are there questions that we would like to ask? All right, I'm going to give us time to put our thoughts together while I just run down a few things, right? Chris has already given us amazing nuggets this evening about communication and where storytelling, you know, comes in and how it plays a part in product management, right? And it just makes sense that we go ahead to share. I like the fact that this session was very storytelling. Right. I mean, just like the session topic, I like the fact that we made use of storytelling and it just make absolute sense. So guys, go to your social media, go ahead to share the things that you have learned in this session and let other people know that, look, I just acquired a new knowledge and I like to share with you for free. Right. And yes, let's go ahead and do that. If we have questions, oh, reminder. If we have questions, let's go ahead to raise our hands to ask questions before we end the session. All right. Any questions for our speaker? Praise Ige, Praise Kendi Ige. Before Praise just come and strangle my neck for, misordering his name. Right. Do we have questions, guys? Questions. I'm just gonna, oh, it's already 8 o'clock. Okay, it's almost 8 o'clock. It's not yet 8 o'clock, right? 2 minutes. All right. Um, yes, thank you so much, guys. In the absence of no questions, thank you so much, guys, for attending today's session. It means a lot. However, we would not be releasing the recording because that's the order that I got. Right. If the recording will be available, it will be shared in the community. But for now, I have not gotten a go ahead to release the recording, right? Because this session is really an amazing one and is filled with so many information in one session, And to be honest, it's just an amazing one for me. So we're holding on to it, and until I hear go share, I would share. He said, please, can we have the slide presentation? Yes, if Chris is going to share with me, yes, the slide presentation will be available if Chris shares with me, right? And I'll share with you. Of course, I don't think Olime can use it, right? You would better, make use of it, right? So I think I'll also use it, Sha, because Olime cannot use it, right? So yes, thank you guys for today's session, and I will see you on the other side of Enoverlab. Have an amazing evening. And yeah,